Faster Grow It. From the Stash Podcast.
Thanks to AC Infinity for sponsoring this episode. They have the best grow tent kits on the market today. You get their ion board LED grow light, their grow tent, their ventilation system, clip-on fan, and their controller 69 to control it all. You also get their fabric pots, a trellis net, plant ties, and trimmers. Definitely a good price for all that you get in the kit. I'll have a link in the description section below so you can learn more about these grow tent kits, and the discount code TheStash15 works on both Amazon and their website, acinfinity.com. What do you got in the garden, man?
Oh, it's a loaded question, bro. I've got some excitement. I can't even get into everything I'm getting into right now because I got some big things I've never done before coming up. But to answer your question, I've got 2 Dead Ops OG by Zaza Genetics. And these girls are going ham. I actually just posted a picture on my Instagrams at Pigeons 420. Go check it out. I'm filling, last grow I filled 1 tent, 1 plant. Now it's 2 girls, 1 tent. And do you remember 2? Never mind.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that was.
I know.
I was like, wait a second. Anyways,
wait. So hold on. We got to back up because last time we were connected here on live, you had no power. Your plants were no power for over 20 hours. What happened there? They survived?
Yeah, I guess, man. Yeah. So far, so good. You're right. 27 hours, no power, and it was cold. It was really cold, and because my garden is in the basement, in a cold room in the corner, and they were without power and cold. So 27 hours, as I repeated myself, and I was really concerned, not so much about the light, because a lot of people said the light's not going to be a big deal. You know, they'll end up being just fine. It was actually the cold I was more worried about. Rob had a good idea about wrapping them up in a blanket, and I would love to say that I did that, but I didn't.
I was going to say you did it? It worked.
No. But like, granted, you know, if we had been getting some prolonged, like longer than a day, maybe I would have started to take some measures to try to prevent any kind of adverse effects. But power came on. We actually lost our water after the power came on. We had a boil water advisory because our water plant was off for so long and sediment built. I don't know how it works, but science. And so needless to say, so far, they appear as if they've come out completely unscathed.
Wow.
So
that's great. Did you film any content after when the lights came on and like get the camera in there real quick?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I did. Yep. I did. And honestly, all they looked like were as if they had been overwatered slightly. You know, and like that heavy droop, which is almost similar to like too cold look, like roots, a cold look. Yeah. That was it. And all I did was give her a good feed the next morning, and like honestly, it was nothing. It was nothing.
I've had them water last. Pardon? Before that, what did you water prior to that?
It probably would have been the day before.
So that probably wasn't part of it. Is that water, the moisture there got cold. It made it more cold on the roots.
Yeah,
and
because I was concerned that it was going to run out of water. Well, we didn't have power and water, and I was going to have to water my plants with bad water, I guess. You know. But I didn't have to.
You don't have a reservoir at all by chance?
No.
Man, I changed the game for myself. I used to be that 10 5-gallon bucket guy. You know what I'm saying? Just a bunch of 5-gallon, Home Depot buckets. I'm so tired of that lifestyle, so I changed it up. What do you mean? You've never done that?
No, 10 buckets. No,
so 5-gallon buckets. Right, filling those up and then mixing your nutrients in with that.
Oh,
how do you mix your nutrients?
With a watering can.
Oh yeah, well you're not growing. Yeah, because you have limited it to like a couple plants in there. You don't have. Yeah, smart man. Smart
plants. 1 watering can, 3
Life
gallons.
Is so much better.
Life, bro, is easy, man.
Yeah, when you're growing like 30 some plants. I mean, to be fair, I'm my mom's caregiver too, so I'm growing, and she smokes like I do. So we got to double up. But to also be fair, Mrs. P was on the blunt rotation a lot when we were in Vegas. So I'm assuming you're growing more than just for you.
Actually, as a matter of fact, she's kind of quit. As a matter of fact, she's been getting really sick. She's been getting migraines, and she came back from
bids, P.
Vegas. I digress. We came back from Vegas, and she got coronavirus or COVID or whatever you call it. And I don't know if anyone calls it coronavirus. Anyways, she got it, and then she didn't smoke for like a good almost a month after coming back, because she even said like America COVID is way worse than Canada COVID. Like, let me tell you, like she said,
hard out here.
Yeah, you guys go hard. Yeah. So needless to say, because she got it twice. She went to Vegas twice, got COVID twice. Yeah, so she suffers from migraines, and it's just been hard for her to consume and not get migraines. So
I'm no doctor, but check the blood pressure. I actually was running the same exact thing, man, and I've too much sodium in my diet. Got like stage 1. What's it called?
Diabetes?
No, it's stage 1. Not hypertension, is it? It's like too high of blood pressure, 130 over 81.
Oh, okay.
It's like, and that was my headache issue, and then I lowered my sodium, and now I'm good.
She's suffered, like, she's had chronic migraines for years. And so like she's been, I don't want to get into her medical history because that's not fair.
Well, the digression of the fact of having to grow for multiple people and that you don't have as many plants and the watering's easier. Right. I think that's partially probably where you were able to be saved, is you didn't have a bunch of little clones. You didn't have an aeroponic cloner that was dead for days. You didn't have all these things. So like you set yourself up for success with that. You got like the survivalist garden, but you also grow these big beasts. So you're filling up the square footage like as if you
the tent is full. There is no space.
It doesn't look like you. When you show that top, I forget you have 1 or 2 plants in there because that month's full, like at all times. But that's where
it's full right now. Yeah, it's full right now. Veg, it's wall to wall, 2 plants. But I've had I say one of the biggest mistakes I ever did was grow too many plants. I like that was by far there was like a turning point. You know, when you first start growing, you can do anything. You can grow as many plants as you want. You can train them all as many as you want. You can do all kinds of different cultivars as you want. And then all of a sudden, your dreams kind of get honed in a little bit, because then it's like, boom, bugs over, they're too much work. The overgrown. You can handle it for sure. I couldn't. And that was 15 plants was where I was like, this.
Well, and I feel like you're better off to optimize a smaller amount and you'll get just the same amount.
That's what I learned.
More. Yeah. And I've learned the same thing over time. My issue is the genetics. I keep on popping more and more and more. And I've got all these people on the stairs genetics I got and these Boston roots, and damn it, I'm popping them. I already did pop them. And I've got some from Franklin Fields that I've got, man, like I have an issue with that. That's my issue, is I keep getting more genetics. And I do this every time where I'm like, I only need 3. I'll keep 3. And then I stumble on a sharp green pie and I'm like, can I get a cut? And then all of a sudden I get a package with a bunch of these great beans. And I'm like, maybe I'll just pop 12. But then all of a sudden I'm back to 36, and like I was trying to get myself back down to 6 total, because you inspired me to just simplify my life in that sense. I'm not growing for anything extra. I'm growing just for myself and for my mom. That's it. So I should just optimize that space and have some freaking free time in my life. You guys know I'm busy as hell. We go through our to-do list. Somehow I wind up with the most frequently. It doesn't make any sense. I got to quit being like, I could do that, but it's like, I overestimate my free time sometimes. And then in the garden, I have a good time with it. So I don't mind bringing in more stuff. But then I notice certain cultivars don't get the treatment that they should because I got too many. Or certain plants within those rooms just don't get the treatment they should, versus a couple that really dialed it in. And you'll get more yield just from those couple than you will from these other crappy ones. It's just better off to optimize your space. And I think that's really what saves you a lot, is you not having a ton of plants, them being hardy as hell. Already trained,
they had been
basically they could get through it. Yeah, they could get through it. You trained them, you worked them, and you don't top yours either. You're just low stress training, right? So it's
essentially HST. I would argue that my LST has become HST, but there's no top. Yeah, it's super cropping. Yeah.
Well, like in the commercial setting, you'd be surprised at how many scheduled stresses there are. They can, like, consciously will go to as high as 8.1 EC early in flower to stress the fuck out of it, or they'll do the swazing technique to defoliage to stress the fuck out of it, to hit these certain things to get more trichome development, or to change the development of the nodal space, things like that, where it's like crop steering. You're doing that, but then you don't have these focused stress like points. So this was one that came naturally, and watch your plants do better than ever because they had to fight to get through that, and now they're going to bounce back more vigorously. Wouldn't be surprised.
Yep, one could hope.
Yep, I've said a good juju to you.
Yeah.
Well, I just know. You talked about when you used to grow like a bunch of plants and stuff like that, man. I reflect back to your YouTube channel, man, just your older videos. I'm talking like 2015, 2016, 2017.
Gone.
And you had that open room with all the plants in there, and you're doing your super cropping, you're doing all the things, different things of the plant, man. Those are most really enjoyable. I think from an audience standpoint, it's cool to see a whole bunch of different things happening in a grow room. So I just wanted to mention that, dude. I know you're limiting your plant count, or at least reducing your plant count, try to be more controlled and stuff like that. But it was definitely enjoyable to see you do what you did back then.
I appreciate it, man.
I think that's why a lot of us will do that too, is changing stuff up for content. Like the content creators who do it, I've sacrificed my garden for years to have different techniques. Like I switched to hydro, organic. I did all these things not because I wanted to or because my garden wasn't good, but how am I going to talk about this and not do it? I got to do it. And then in Pete's case, like he's teaching you all these things. Well, what is he going to have? A couple plants? At the time, YouTube wasn't as strict with the content we'd put out. So it was like, I need material for the show. I need products, and those are the plants that you grow. And at that point, when you're earlier in the game too, you're super passionate and it's a full-time job and you're in there all the time. At this point in our career, it's a hobby. And like, I want to make sure I keep my smoke, full, but I can't dedicate 40 hours a week like I did in the past. You know what I'm saying? So it's optimizing that for your life. But then lo and behold, you have an issue that comes up and it worked out because you've optimized it in the first place, just to simplify it for your own life, but to make it so your plants are better, more vigorous, and they can handle those stresses. So it worked out.
There's definitely some drawbacks. I've ruined harvests, and when you only have 1-2 plants, that's catastrophic to your operation. That's the worst. But you learn to work with the system that you have. If there's anything that I've grown to appreciate over the years is my time, and I think if there's anything that I can pass on to anybody, it's that your time is valuable. The people around you are valuable. Your relationships are important, and the amount of time that we put in to our plants is correlated to how great and how beautiful they are. That same thing can be said to the time and effort that you put into your friends and your relationships, and your life is directly correlated to how flourishing and how beautiful they are. And I really enjoy my life, my family, my wife, my son, the people around me. And I don't want my work in the garden to be work in the garden. I've always said that it should be something that complements your life. I enjoy getting up first thing in the morning, walking into the garden, and doing all my work. If it takes me more than an hour and a half, it's work, and I don't like that. So make it easy for yourself, and maybe 5, 10, 15 plants is what's easy for you, and maybe that is great, but it shouldn't become stressful. And back in the day when I had a room full of 15 plants, it was becoming stressful. I couldn't keep up with it. It was really, really hard. And forget about all the work that's put in. Different cultivars require different environments, and that's simply what the problem that I had ran into, is that I couldn't provide all these different environments. So I need to dial back so my life and my hobbies don't interfere with each other per se. So yeah.
Well, and then
your time is valuable.
Too. Well, I was going to say, you run into issues too, where you did a whole harvest and you hated.
Yeah.
And that's when you're limiting your plant. That's where those of us like in the chat over here on Twitch are like, different flavors, this and this. That's the issue we run into. Is we're like, to ensure we don't run into that, we get too many flavors sometimes. It's almost like you're better off to get the one that you know is going to be solid and that you like, and then doubling down on that. Doing your first run as almost a sacrificial pheno hunt run or geno hunt, whatever you want to call it, or even just genetic, because it could be a lot of cuts that you got from somebody. Then figuring out which one is the one that you want to keep. And that's where I did that for Headbanger for a while. I was like, this is the one, no matter what happens, she's staying. So then I made sure I always had enough of that. So if I harvested shit I don't like, I still will have the Headbanger no matter what. And now I'm getting to the point where, if I'm going to pop some genetics, they've got to be cuts that I'm confident with, or not cuts, crosses that I'm confident with. They can't just be ones that I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. The parents have to be something I'm already interested in. Now, when you get to the point of it's too risky for me to not take cuts. I'd rather get a cut or a clone because I want to try it first. And it's not worth trying to take up my time and my space to put something that I don't like, because I've got a lot of stuff I don't like. My mom was here watching my kids last night, and she was like, hey, that stuff that was over in that bag was pretty good. I was like, have all of it. All of it. Like, I don't like it. I'm sorry. But it's like, I'm very, very picky, and that's why I'll continue to grow no matter what the prices are, the laws, the quality in the commercial or mainstream setting, because I'm very picky. But I'm not going to do what I did in the past, where I overwhelm myself with genetics, or I underwhelm myself and end up growing something that's mids. Can't do it. Won't do it.
Anything to add to that, Chris?
No.
Animal.
Nothing. I was going to talk about what, you talked about what you got in your grow. I'm not sure if you're done with that. I got to talk about what I got in my grow.
What you got?
So I'm growing 5 plants right now. I mean, some of you guys have tuned in. I assume the small handful of you guys have tuned into my main channel and seen what I got going on there. A couple videos where I'm showing my 2x4 tent. I have a Hades throne and a sweet cider in there, as well as a runts. The runts is a little bit smaller than the Hades throne and the sweet cider. So it's looking fantastic. I actually moved the Hades throne and sweet cider to my 4x4 with my other 2 plants that are about the same size, Curb Stomper and American Pie, and I flipped the whole tent to 12-12. So now going into flowering here, top dress with Kiss Organics nutrient pack. All 4 of those plants are in 10-gallon containers. 1 cup Kiss Organics, super simple. I'll do another 1 cup. About 30 days in is what I probably end up doing. And then that runs, I'm going to keep in my 2x4 on the 18.6 to veg a little bit longer. Actually, I have it in a 5-gallon. And I just want it to be a bigger plant, a little bit bigger of a plant than it is right now before I actually flip it over to flower. But all the plants looking healthy, all the plants looking really great. Really excited for this run. In my 4x4, I'm using the AC Infinity T24s. I have 2 of them in there. Looking really, really good. I'm liking that light so far. And then in my 2x4, I have the 2 of the XS 1500 Pros by Viper Spectra. Awesome. Working out great so far. In fact, that light in particular, I mean, I don't know how they're able to price it so low with it being, the quality it is. It's definitely a light that if you're on a budget, check out the Viper Spectra XS 1500 Pro. Around $100 to fill up a 2x2. Yeah, so that's awesome.
$100.
That's pretty solid. I think on that 420 was cheaper than.
This is a new thing for me. $100 for
a 2x2. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
and what's the efficacy on that?
I don't have it memorized. You have to look it up. Yeah,
that's interesting. I'm using right now in my 4x4. I've got it's polar opposite spectrum of budget, but it's a badass light. The Showtech X3 Ultra Mini. So it's a beast, but it's got like the highest efficacy. I'm using 300 watts currently right now, and I'm getting, I think, like 3.7 micromoles or something like ridiculous. I think it's 2.7 micromoles maybe. I don't know, but it's in terms of your efficacy, it's the highest that's out there on the market. And right now I've noticed a massive difference in my overall grow using that one. Before that I had I can't remember the name of it. It was the Vivo Sun little green, like they got a fan in the center of them. You've seen those ones? They weren't bad, but my electricity bill was
flying in the middle.
Yeah, I like the fact that I was blowing air from the top down. That was kind of innovative and cool, but I didn't see a major difference in terms of my plants. But my electricity bill difference, I forgot I had the garden going. That's how cheap it is. I was like, whoa. So it's like spending a little more money on the quality stuff will save you that long term, but on the short term gain, if you can find $100, because again, not everybody has the money to be like, well, it'll save me by the end of the year. In 3 years, this will make up for. Like, that's if you're already sitting pretty. If you're in like Chicago in an apartment and you don't want to show a crazy electricity bill, of course, efficacy is the way you need to go. But if you can find something that cheap and get that in your garden, like, wow, game changer. I love the way the LED has evolved.
Yeah, I was going to say that when I first got an LED grow light back in 2015, I had the P9 XML2 by Platinum LED. And that was, I think it was $900 or $1,000. And that's to fill up a 4x4 space. These days, $400 to fill up a 4x4 space. So like on a budget, on the budget side of things, and you can spend more and get more features in the grow light and so on, and better spread across the footprint and stuff like that. But I mean, if you're looking at a budget, dude, $400, it's a huge price drop over the years.
Dude, when I first got it
didn't even work back then.
LED. Well, yeah, I was just going to say, when I first got an LED, it was a Blurple one. And I went from a 600 watt HPS at the time, and it was the worst transition I ever had. For one, I couldn't tell that my plants were struggling because it was a Blurple light. Didn't know. I had no idea. And then as I realized my electricity bill was the same. Didn't go down anymore. Like it was crazy, man. And the light itself was like, I think it was like $800, and it only took care of a 2x2. It was a one, and I wasn't in a 10 at the time. I just had it in the space, but it had a 2x2 coverage. It's insane. And nowadays, I mean, $100 goddamn light. I'm still just stuck on that. That's crazy. But then again, there's a lot of different brands who are putting stuff out now. With the competition, you have to do that, and it's making it so equipment is better and better. I know AC Infinity actually has a new light coming out pretty soon. Nice little addition. I don't know if you guys got the email, but
I don't know if we can talk about that, right? We
I'm
can't
not
talk about
leaving
that
it. Yeah, I
Friday.
know. Maybe, Friday we'll talk about it. But
Friday we'll talk about it.
It's cool.
Didn't read the email.
Next Friday. Next Friday.
He's like, I know it's there, but film
you
it after the show, boys.
did.
I think that's where, as technology advances, efficacy is going to be the biggest focus. You know what I'm saying? I don't see what else you're going to do for spectrum, for different style of lights. You know what I'm saying? When you look at that little fan thing there, I guess it's innovative, but what value does it add? Cooling up top. Why is your LED got so much heat from up top?
Because it's in a box.
Which light are you talking about?
The not Viper Spectra,
Vivo Sun?
Vivo Sun. What the hell
green one
is
with
it?
the white fan in the middle. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I think.
But it's because it's encased. It's those diodes are encased, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, so then what? You just added a random piece to take care of inefficient technology? Okay, so that's where it's like, what are we doing to get to the next level of stuff? And if the price point is it, I'm happy for the people who can have more people consuming and growing. That's great. If efficacy is it, great. But then sometimes that price point is not obtainable for your average grower or someone who's trying to transition. If they're buying $50 to $100 Z of mid at the dispo, they're content with that. How can you justify spending thousands of dollars to get a garden set up? But when you got hundreds of dollars, small amount of money, it really makes it so it's approachable. So I love that there's companies doing that. Even ones we don't personally work with. Like, we're big on giving shout outs and pushing that through and trying to provide value for all the growers, because we're growers ourselves. I was at an event yesterday and nobody was a home grower and barely anybody was a consumer.
Most of the events we go to, there's no growers.
At a consumption lodge.
We're often not the only, but some of the only growers at these events. These are mainly aimed towards consumers, both customers and people who are consuming the product. Yeah. So it's, that's definitely something that surprised me when we go to LA, when we go to Vegas, and people are like, "Oh, you grow." Oh, and the respect you get too, like, "Oh, I want to give a respect, like, ode to the growers." I'm like, me? Me? Thank you. Now I know they're not talking about me; they're talking about the people actually putting effort into the industry. But as a grower, I can appreciate that, because it does take effort and it isn't easy. And with Instagram, everything has to be just stupid, just vibrant, and doesn't have to have terps, right? Doesn't have to have anything really. It just has to look good. Same
in the commercial setting. I was just talking about this with a guy who's newer in the space last night. It's got to have high THC and it's got to yield well, and that way the cost per pound is low. That's all that matters for a lot of people. But the market's shifting. The fact that everything's becoming more approachable, the cost is lower for entry to get into things, whether it be being a grower or consumer, makes it so more people have judgment and input, and the masses don't want a bad experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, decent is one thing. If it's decent and it's fair priced, again, like circling back to the $100 light, if it's a decent light and it works for $100, that's good value. If it's a decent light and it was $1,000, and this is how like the market needs to evolve to the point where we meet that value on both sides, for the consumer and for the producer or the grower. And I think that's where a lot of people respect the grower, because they know we dictate a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be for the legacy market or it be for the just the game, being involved. The people who are the producers, if you're the plug, most times back in the day, you'd get it from the middleman. If you're the grower, you're the plug, and I'm my own plug, which is beautiful. So if you're that person, a lot of people do have respect, because it's like the intimacy you have for the plant is different. The knowledge you have and the respect you have, people are immediately going to look at you different. Not in a grower circle. They're going to want to see your plants, and still it's like a dick measuring contest. But when you look at the reality of things, if you're taking the time to produce something and you're learning it and you're putting out the best you can, like, respect, big respect.
Trash Panda makes a good point. The fan isn't actually to cool the light. It's its point is to be the top-down fan to help suck down rising heat and equally disperse the temperature. So I can see that.
Yeah, on
The Vivo.
on the Vivo Sun. Yeah,
That's
Well,
what we were
everything's
discussing.
built into it too. Like you don't got to f around and attach it to any extra things with drivers. It's all right there. Like again, there's value in it, but it just wasn't a crazy innovation for me in terms of bar style lighting. Would be more efficient with better heatsink and things like
It
that.
actually makes, like
But the
I don't know.
cost it's a more efficient. Again, it's that approachability to like, well, you can get this for a lot less money and get 2 or 3
I would
of
hope-
these.
I would hope the fans that I have in my, you know what I mean? Like I don't buy a light to disperse my temperature. So I would hope that the fans that I have in my tent are doing that instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe they're not. Maybe they're not. Maybe maybe some fans, many fans on the market, maybe they're not. Maybe they're not adequate enough, or I don't know. But maybe that. I appreciate you bringing that up, Panda.
Yeah,
Since I
absolutely. And speaking of in the chat, I saw Ferris went to Boco, called it Bogo though, but grabbed some sherbet cream pie. I love that I get to see some of the stashers and the gromies and the flock consuming what I'm consuming. I love it, and I love that I'm having some influence on that. There's a lot of cool stuff, and little mini leak can't do too much, but stay tuned for some more things you may be consuming from your boys from the stash. You're not directly consuming, but implementing into your life. I feel like more and more people, like I said, big respect to Chris for putting out genetics and welcome to the grow tent. People who they put it out there. They're showing everything they're doing. The transparency's there. I can find out about you. I'll Google you, see who the hell you are. And there'll be videos of somebody talking trash about you potentially. Well, maybe not Googling you, but you know what I'm saying. Most cases, we can see if somebody is legit or not. You've been doing this for years. If you put something out, I'm going to trust it. Welcome to the Grow Tent. A lot of other people who are doing stuff, even like Yola, like he puts out it's like something I wouldn't mess with, but like HHC or HCC, whatever those. But if he's consuming it, he's a heavy consumer and he's doing it on a regular basis. I would trust someone like that who's consuming a product who does, you know what I'm saying?
Consuming his own product. That's
not
the
just
point.
a celebrity who endorses a thing and just says, "Yeah, put my name on it."
Yep. Shout out to Yola, man. Man, that guy's so. He just that boy just bought a Maybach or a Maybach.
What?
Yeah.
He's on a TED Talk too, right?
Bro, yeah, and he's got a brand new diamond. Get it? Like I'm wearing an Apple Watch.
Making it happen. I
feel like a homeless man.
Watch.
Fucking yeah, he's got a what is it? It's a Rolex. Oh, that boy is killing him, man. Maybach, man.
But when you do stuff for a decade, when you're doing this as long as people do, you either
deserves
keep going.
it.
Exactly. You either keep going.
It's not
or
like he stumbled on this. Yep.
Well, and you can look back and see where the growth has come again with like us with other people is you can watch it. It's all out there. So you can see if it's authentic or not. So big respect to all the creators who are creating not just entertainment and value, but products to help the community and the people.